to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Whoa, whoa, the Mr. Marty Show. The Mr. Marty Show. Ooh, welcome to SpoOktober. So glad you're here. So glad you're here, my friend. Pull up a chair. Gonna fill you with joy. Fill you with such dread that you're gonna let us scream. For the Mr. Marty Show. Take it away, guys. I'm the Mr. Marty Show. The Mr. Marty Show. I'm the Mr. Marty Spooktacular SpoOktober Show. Mr. Marty Show. I'm the Mr. Marty Show. 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 The Mr. Marty Show. The Mr. Marty Show, show. Always something happening, and it's not necessarily that good on the Mr. Marty Show.
Jack carries his soul in a turnip shell in the crook of his arm. Wanders the road alone at night for doing the devil harm. The turnip has two slits for eyes and another for its nose. The mouth is carved as in surprise, from it his red soul glows.
Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, for ours his soul it might be lost. Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, for ours his soul it might be lost.
Jack, he was a thieving man, the kind the devil cursed. Jack fooled the devil to be a coin, kept him in his purse. The devil promised Jack he would never live in hell. Jack took the devil from his sack, threw him down the well.
Oh, Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, or else his soul it might be lost. Jack of the lantern, wandering eternity. Jack of the lantern, one if he has seen. Jack of the lantern, sign of the cross, or else his soul it might be lost.
In heaven, Peter locked him out, sent him straight to hell. The devil let out a frightened shout and locked him out as well. The spirits that see his lantern run away with a scream. That's why we carve the pumpkin every Halloween.
Oh, Jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen Jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, for all the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen Jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, for all the soul that might be lost.
Carve your pumpkin scary, a candle you must light. On that evening eerie we call Halloween night. He'll scare away the demons, keep them from attack. Tell the devil himself, take care, it might just be your Jack.
Oh, Jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen Jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen Jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen Jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen Jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is the soul that might be lost. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run in eternity. Jack-o'-the-lantern, run. If he has seen Jack-o'-the-lantern, sign of the cross, or all is the soul that might be lost.
Hello, Mr. Marty fans. This is Ma. And say ho, Linda. Ooh, you're in good voice today. Oh, if you can't tell, we are going to be talking about SpoOktober and Day of the Dead. Oh, but did you know Day of the Dead is not really supposed to be scary? Oh, the Aztecs, when they would bury their dead, they would come back a year later and they would put dinner out for them and they would sit and talk with their dead relatives. Now, some people today think that is rather stupid. That the spirit is not here at all. And that we can't converse with them, but you and I know that we do.
Yes.
We do every day. So the Aztecs were ahead of us, I think. A skull's worth. But when the Aztecs became extinct, some of their festivities carried on. Some people thought that they were pagan and they were not supposed to be done on this earth, that we displeased those who were in command of us. They didn't like that the gods were being made fun of, they thought. But the Aztecs and those following them felt that this was a private cemetery festival, that paying homage to those who had gone before was such a duty, a kindness. They made the favorite foods. What's your favorite food, so I'll know?
Lasagna.
Oh, I know what I will be making for you.
How about you?
Oh, I like hot dogs.
Hot dog.
Yeah, Chicago hot dogs
Oh,
with plenty of peppers on them. And then what do you like? Oh, yes, that Chicago hot dogs. What do you like to drink? Is that a
How
chocolate?
about an Arnold Palmer? That's half iced tea and half lemonade.
I think that sounds good, and that would go along with my hot dogs and your
Yes,
lasagna both.
Exactly.
Well, we know what we want for our festivities.
How about you, Mr. Marty Van?
Yes, how about you? So, on the Day of the Dead, be sure and wear your prettiest face. Show off your prettiest hats. And have bats on your shoulders. And so we, of course, as always, we bid you peace.
Hey everybody, it's like back to school time, right? Everyone knows about Luther College up in Decorah, Iowa. Creepy place. I went to school there. Well, it has lots of hauntings and ghosts. There's always that famous one, Gertrude. She died around the early 1900s on a bicycle accident. Haunts Larson Hall these days. She loves to pull those fire alarms, gets people in the middle of the night out to where she got killed, right? And don't forget that janitor who did himself in the 90s. Just way too much pressure being a janitor. Loves to flip on lights and flip them off in Regent's Hall. But people don't talk about the ghost at Brant Hall. That's where I was. That ghost, she was playful. She used to throw things around, make things jump on desks. Always had about 3 o'clock. She was trying to tell us it was happy hour. I think she always wanted to have us come out and play, have happy hour, and take her to the pub. Because everyone knew the pub right in Decorah, Iowa. So much fun. But I always thought there was something really sinister about her, too. I think she had an evil sister. Up on La Crosse, Wisconsin. Used to lure boys down to the Mississippi. But you know what? That's a tale for another day. Right, kids?
Hello, Mr. Marty fans. It's that time of year again. Pumpkin Spice Latte is back at Starbucks, and Mike McScary returns to Mr. Marty. This Spooktober story is called By the Pricking of My Thumbs. Please enjoy Episode 1, The Witch, the Grave, and the Unfinished Stone. Our setting is Salem, Illinois, a small farming town just south of the Wisconsin line and far west of Chicago. It was an unseasonably hot day in late October. Richard Diggy Prentice was only 40 years old, but he felt positively ancient. The little blonde weather girl on TV had called it second summer. Summer was gone and everybody knew it. This wasn't going to last. Diggy had just finished mowing the lawn for the last time this year at Salem Cemetery. Salem's plot, as he called it. He drove the old John Deere tractor into the utility shed and parked it next to the even more ancient Ditch Witch. The new guy, Joey Spinner, looked up from the little card table in the corner where he was eating his lunch. He smiled and started singing, "Ding dong, the witch is dead." Diggy grumbled, "What are you talking about?" Joey looked at him expectantly. "Come on, what comes next?" Diggy wondered again how he'd gotten stuck with this kid before finally giving in. Fine, and singing, "Witch, old witch." Exactly, laughed Joey. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. How cool is that? I kind of feel like calling a special meeting of the lollipop kids. Then the light bulb went off for Diggy. Did that old hag Darkwing finally kick it? Yeah, said Joey. No wonder the weather's so nice. He laughed again and then stopped when he noticed that Diggy wasn't joining him. Seriously? You didn't know? How the hell should I have known? I've been mowing the lawn. Well, yeah, I guess. But I figured you must have known about it. Otherwise, why did you dig the hole? I didn't dig anything. When would I have had the time? Well, it was already dug when I got here, and who else would have done it other than Sir Diggy himself? I didn't do it. And old man Gray can't hardly see the wart on the end of his nose. He sure couldn't have done it. Well, I'll grant you that, said Diggy, and they both shared a guilty laugh. But seriously, there's a hole out there? Where? I didn't see anything when I was mowing. Man, that's just weird. It's down near the creek, right under the old oak. Show me. Not that I don't trust you, of course. Together, they walked down the hill to the creek. Diggy shaded his eyes against the warm sun hanging low along the horizon. Slowly, the ancient oak came into focus, looking more like a plaster model of a tree than a living thing. As they got closer, Diggy saw a pile of dirt to the right of the grave. How could he have missed that? They walked to the edge of the hole, and he actually found himself holding his breath. It was amazing. The hole looked almost laser cut, edges sharp and corners crisply carved into the deep, dark earth. Diggy couldn't have done as well. He turned to Spinner. You did this? Yeah, right, laughed Spinner. And then for the second time that day, he stopped when he realized that the older man wasn't laughing. No, I mean, come on, quit it. I didn't do it. I don't think you could have, said Diggy flatly. He noticed that there was a stone laying flat at the head of the gravesite and stepped over to look at it. R.I.P. was etched in big, bold letters spaced widely across the top of the stone, although somehow a little off-center. Underneath, but still fairly high up on the stone, was an engraved design looking vaguely like a sinuous cross over an equally flowing circle. It didn't mean anything to Diggy, but the color drained from his face when he saw the 3 italicized words to the right. The late great. He felt Joey move up beside him, sensed rather than saw him look down at the stone, and then back up at Diggy. That's weird too, isn't it? I mean, there's no name or dates, and that phrase sounds just like you, don't it? Diggy didn't feel comfortable admitting it, but it did sound like him. Sounded like his favorite part of the job. Early on in his career as a gravedigger, he had started creating his own private epitaphs for everybody that ended up in Salem Cemetery. And the epitaphs all started with the late great. Just last week it had been the late great Tommy Reardon drank too much and drove his car in. Okay, it wasn't great art. Didn't even really make sense unless you knew Tommy had driven his truck into Reed Lake on that last trip home from the bar. Still, Diggy felt a stab of shock seeing those 3 words staring back at him from the cold stone. The late great. What was going on? Nobody knew about his little poetic pastime except Joey and maybe old man Gray. And there was no way that old fart did this. Joey was still staring at the stone. And how about that witch's knot? He asked. What the hell are you talking about now? Well, that's what that circle thing is called, a witch's knot. Out of the corner of his eye, Diggy could see the shadow at the bottom of the hole, and they started moving. The darkness coalesced, and a long, bullet-shaped form sprang up onto the side of the grave. A black cat stared coolly back at him, a very specific black cat, with a distinctive white circle of fur high up on its neck. The cat blinked at Diggy, swished its tail, and sauntered back into the bushes. Well, that's a lot of strange things going on for a workday. Tune in next week to see whether Diggy gets to the bottom of things.
When darkness falls and daylight's gone, they awaken, it is said, listening to your every move, the monsters under the bed. They creep around while you sleep. They watch you rest your head. They grab your ankles when you wake, the monsters under the bed. You tell yourself it's a nightmare as you race toward the door, but in the light you can't help but see the scratches on the floor. So listen well, you readers, and I advise you to take heed. When you leave your bed in the night, you had better go with speed. For those of us that already know the truth that's in our head, when darkness comes and all is still, there's monsters under the bed.
Mr. Marty fans, we're here at the Mexican-American Museum here in Chicago at an exhibit celebrating the Dia de los Muertos, a Mexican tradition which combines both indigenous and Catholic traditions of remembrance of the dead. This exhibit represents a túmulo, which was a altar erected to remember or to celebrate in remembrance or at the funerals in important churches in the 16th, 17th, and 18th century in Mexico. These sculptures are meant to represent purgatory and the experience that might have happened to souls there. Here we have a representation of a family's Day of the Dead altar, or ofrenda. These are examples of an art called cartoneria. This ofrenda represents tradition from the Chiapas community. These ceramic figures form a Day of the Dead scene. This next series of ofrendas were created by local people here in the Chicago area to honor their loved ones. This ofrenda was built by students at a local high school, both to honor their dead and also to raise awareness of mental health issues in their community. This ofrenda was made by a local woman to honor the dead of generations in her family, represented by the tree. This one honors a generation of activists who have fought for the rights of their people here in this community in Chicago. This poignant exhibit was built by an 8-year-old to honor his dead father, who was part of the lowrider community. These exhibits represent box altars, which was a very common art form in Peru. Well, Mr. Marty fans, I hope you have enjoyed looking at this beautiful artwork that artisans have created in remembrance of their loved ones.
Good evening, class. It's MJ Howley.
taking over for Professor Artemis. The month of October is when Professor takes her hiatus. She loves the month of October, so she does all her research then. So she asked me, her good friend, if I wouldn't mind sitting in for her, and I said, okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween, the month of October, different traditions. So sit back, enjoy, get your pen and pencil ready. You never know when there's going to be a quiz. So we're going to talk about witchcraft, first of all. The last witch in Europe was Anne Goldie. All right? While there's no historical record of an Anne Gold in the Salem witch trials, you may be thinking of Anne Goldie, a Swiss woman executed for alleged witchcraft in 1782. She's often considered the last person executed for witchcraft in Europe. Now, she was born October 24, 1734, in Sunwald, Switzerland. Died June 13, 1782, in Glarus by decapitation. Though officially charged with poisoning, not witchcraft, her trial was widely seen as a miscarriage of justice rooted in superstition and abuse of power. The trial protocols were even destroyed. She was posthumously exonerated in 2008 by the Swiss canton of Glarus as a wrongful victim of judicial murder. A memorial featuring 2 eternally lit lamps was installed outside the courthouse in 2014, and the Anne Golden Museum opened in 2017 to commemorate her story. Now, the next lady, I don't consider her a witch, but, I guess in some circles she may have been. And this, surprisingly or not, is Joan of Arc. Also known as Saint Joan of Arc, or Jeanne d'Arc, is one of history's most remarkable figures. Here's a quick overview of her life and legacy. Well, she was born in 1412 in Domfrey, a small village in northern France. Came from a peasant family, uneducated but deeply religious. At about age 13, she began experiencing what she described as visions and voices of saints, commonly known as St. Michael, St. Catherine, and St. Margaret, urging her to support the French crown. Role in the 100-Year War. At 17, Joan convinced Charles VII of France that she had a divine mission to drive out the English and endure his coronation. She famously cut her hair short, wore men's armor, and took command as a symbolic leader of French troops. In 1429, she led the French army to the lift of siege of Orleans, a turning point in the 100 Years' War. Shortly after Charles VII was crowned at Reims, with Joan at his side. Now, the capture and trial. In 1430, she was captured by Burgundians, allies of the English, during a military campaign. Sold to the English, she was put on trial for heresy, witchcraft, and cross-dressing for wearing male soldiers' clothing. Despite her eloquent defense, she was condemned. On May 30th, 1432, Joan was burned at the stake in Rouen, France at just 19 years old. Witnesses described her as calling on Jesus with her final breath. In 1456, a posthumous retrial declared her innocent and a martyr. She became a symbol of the French unity and nationalism, inspiring generations. Canonized as a saint in 1920 by the Roman Catholic Church. Today, she's one of France's patron saints and is celebrated for her courage, faith, and role in shaping history. So that's a little bit about Joan of Arc. So class, I hope you've enjoyed this little lesson tonight, and I will be back next week with another witch. Have a good evening. So, this is MJ Howling saying good night.